And the thought that I was having, if you don't have access to clear thought, if you don't have access to understand what it is that you want to accomplish, whether it's in a meeting or whether you're just connecting with your family or your friend over a coffee, you don't really have freedom. Like a lot of times when we think about freedom, we think of civil liberties. When I think about freedom, I'm thinking about the ability to be intentional around your life and you're not just your outcomes, but your life experiences and have access to that inner capacity to actualize those intentions. It's like if you're walking around in brain fog and you don't feel well, you can't possibly, in your outward expression of life, be free.
Mhm. I love this. I love this conversation, and I would agree 100%. You know, it's freedom to me is in how we show up in our lives and being able to show up, you know, true, authentic, humble, noble, being able to show up without kind of playing into expectation or expecting anything in return. And really, you know, I think there are layers and levels to this. You know, if we don't have our health, if we're not breathing, if like you said, if we don't have clarity of mind, how free are we? And I think it does play into it's not only the freedom within ourselves and you know with and between our relationships, but it really does go into to society, you know, and how we operate. And you know, in my eyes, if I'm not able to go anywhere and do anything I choose, so long as I intend no harm against another being, then I'm not truly free.
No, you're not. You know, let's talk about society for a bit. Let's talk about society. You're hearing this more and more in conversations that people seem so much more agitated and hateful and offended by one another. And people seem to be, and I'm not saying this in a negative way. People seem to be sensitive, but almost in a way where people seem to be wounded. Where you know, I went to the mountains last weekend and with my wife, and I'm pretty pasty. So I was out in the sun for like maybe the first time in a while. And you know, if my wife walked behind me and she, you know, gently slapped me on the back, normally I would find that affectionate. I would respond in a different way. But if I have a sunburn and I'm wounded, I might react in a way like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" It's like that's not a normal reaction, but it is if you're wounded. It is if you've just been burned and now somebody's touching upon that point of insult. I think that's kind of what's happening in society. We feel threat. And a lot of times the way forward is through, well, just think about this. You're thinking about A, just think about B. And it's like, all right, but if you go to a psychiatrist, they'll say if you're in a space where you can't even access thought therapy because your biochemistry will not allow you to engage in those conversations in a way that facilitates, I think, the best way forward for you, they'll put you on medication to alter your biochemistry. And I'm not saying you should or should not be on medication. Doctor prescribes you medication. Absolutely. They have a reason. They probably know what they're doing a lot more than I do, or at least I hope they do. How does breath work change your physiology so that we can react to each other in a way where we're not coming from threat, we're coming from the safety to be open to one another?